Hello, everyone. How are you doing? I wanted to pop in and ask a question based on a conversation I was having with somebody earlier, and that is about rehoming animals. Have you had to rehome animals? What was it like for you? Uh, how was the grief that was involved in it? It's not an easy thing, is it? Unless you're not an animal lover, certainly like I am. And there was a time when going through a divorce, now when you have horses, by the way, you need to have space for horses, but I was going through a divorce and there was a lot of turmoil and how had to sell the property, and I had 5 horses. One, I used to say 4.5 or 4 1/3 because one was a mini Palomino, and then there was a pair of Mustangs, a bonded pair, and a Morgan and a former racehorse, a thoroughbred that I called Angel. And I hadn't had horses before, had accumulated them during the marriage, and they were kind of like my kids, but it became obvious as I was going through it all that I had to make that painful decision to let them go. And so I worked really hard to find homes. I didn't take them to a rescue. I'm not necessarily condemning anyone for that, but I wanted to find people to rehome them to. And the mini horse stayed actually with the property. They ended up giving her to somebody else. But I had this bonded pair of Mustangs that I love so much, and this couple came to get them, kind of a younger couple, and they promised, yes, we'll keep them together because they were so close to each other. They were from the same herd in Nevada, and I was watching this person on Facebook, the woman, and it became obvious that this man and woman didn't live together. And he had one horse and she had the other. And I kind of just, asked how they were doing or something. And she ended up blocking me. And I've heard of this happening before. Like somebody, takes on an animal from somebody else and then they block them for whatever reason. I guess they want privacy or whatever. And so it broke my heart, and I was kind of scared because I let them go for a very low price because people want horses generally that are trained, that are bomb proof, that they can just get on and ride. And these 2 Mustangs, they weren't trained much. So they needed some work. And so it was really hard to sell them. So I let them go to this couple at a low price. And here in Arizona, we have to think about and be concerned about animals in the slaughter pipeline, horses, I should say, in the slaughter pipeline going to Mexico to slaughter, because people make money doing that. They sell them for whatever. And so you need to sell them at a certain price that's going to make it so it's not viable for them to sell them to the market in Mexico for slaughter. So it was hard enough giving them up in the first place. Then you get blocked, and then your mind's going, this woman supposedly worked for a rescue, and it said on her profile that she worked for a rescue, and I trusted her. So I saw some pictures before she blocked me, and it looked like, she was at the woman's property. But again, they had split them up, so they lied. And that's hard, because as an animal parent, so to speak, we want the best for them. And, and we find a home, and then we have this guilt over first of all, guilt over relinquishing ownership or whatever. And then, if something like that goes wrong and we're not sure, or I don't know where they're at right now, it's been a while. Hopefully they're okay, and we do the best we can when we're put in that kind of situation. One of the other horses, the thoroughbred, she was a bit skittish. I felt like I used to call the Mustangs the Mustang Mafia because they seemed like they used to protect her. They protected the thoroughbred. The thoroughbred would see someone on a bicycle and was terrified, like alien. So she was a little bit nervous, you might say. But I had found somebody who was up around the Flagstaff area who had 16 acres and some other retired thoroughbreds. And so I felt really good about that. He was involved in horse things and he seemed like a really good person. But what happened was, and I guess it wasn't his fault, because months later I went back to see her. I'm like, I really want to see her, see how she's doing. And it turned out she wasn't there. I was looking everywhere and I was seeing all these other thoroughbreds and I was like, none of them are her. They don't have her markings. And he came riding up on his horse with this look on his face and, like he wasn't excited to share the news that apparently she'd gotten spooked by his other horses. Maybe they were bullying her. And she, I think, tripped on a rock, was trying to run, and she actually broke her leg, he said. And he was there when she passed away. And this was like 3 months after I rehomed her. And I'd had her for, I think, 6 years or so. She was a sweet horse. I didn't ride her. She was definitely a racehorse. Probably needed some work as well. So I was very heartbroken, just heartbroken. Cried on the way home from Flagstaff, that here I thought she had this great home and, she passed away. So it's like this double grief. Sometimes, we rehome them and then, we want to keep an eye out and hope that they're doing well. And then sometimes we get blocked. And then sometimes we find out something happened to them. And the grief, it's just really tough because we feel responsible because these animals they're in our care. And as an animal communicator as well, for those who don't know, but during COVID, after all of this happened, with the horses and the rehoming and everything, and COVID hit, and it was kind of like, I thought, we could all be gone next year. And I thought, if that were the case, I want to spend it with animals. So I really dove deeper into animals. I adopted Happy Feet, who, I was hanging out at a rescue because I missed my horses so much. And there was Happy Feet, who had, I would call him that because he had hoof issues. He actually had laminitis, which is not a good word to to horse people, because it's a hoof disease that's very painful. So I thought Happy Feet is positive. Let's give him some positive energy here. And as I was healing from some of the things that I went through during that time of rehoming animals and stuff, I was helping him, he was helping me, and I dove into animal communication with a mentor and started doing it virtually. And, of course, there was a lot of like animal behavior stuff, but I really discovered that animals in spirit, animals that have passed, when we communicate, when we're tapping into their energy and intuitively, whether they're alive or they're not alive, it's their soul that we're connected to. It's that energy. It's not the body, so when the body's gone, I found it was the same connection. Animals that had passed, as quirky as that may sound, but I will tell you that they have the same awesome positive energy that we love when they're alive. Like, the dogs that wag their tail and they're happy and they're excited to see us. And, that same positive feeling that we pick up from them, or the cats that are purring or whatever. It's that same feeling when they're in spirit. They're still pure positive energy. It's why we love them so much and why they help us so much to get through this crazy life of ours, right? So, to make a long story a little shorter, whether it's the passing of animals, which is obviously different than humans, sometimes, we have to euthanize them. We don't know they've been sick because they haven't been telling us that they don't feel well. They kind of grin and bear it, or wag their tail and bear it. And so it's different, isn't it? Grief from animals, whether they've passed on, whether we've had to rehome them, and we experience grief rehoming them. And then again, when we find out something happened to them after rehoming them, it just adds to the grief. So that being said, I want to invite you to a week from today. I'm doing a free masterclass called Guided by Animal Angels. And it's 3 steps to find peace after animal loss. And the link is here somewhere in the comments. Just click on the link, read more about it, sign up. It's totally free, interactive. If you have been struggling with finding peace of mind, around animal loss or rehoming animals, it's all grief, isn't it? And I'd love to have you there, and let's interact and do some healing around it. I think I just feel so much for animal lovers, because not having had kids of my own, I wanted kids, but I lost a couple pregnancies, and animals have just always been such a huge part of my life. When I was my dad used to say that when I was a baby, he'd come home from work with a bag of diapers under one arm and a bag of dog food under the other, because I grew up with Gretchen, who I was very close to, and just have had other animals all my life. For me, life isn't complete without it. I know some people aren't animal people, but anyway, I'd love to have you join me for next week. Sign up, save your spot. I'll be sending out a Zoom link, and again, totally free, live, and let's do some healing. Let's connect and share, and also tap into, I'm going to do an exercise to help you feel more connected to that animal that you've lost, to help fill that gaping hole that was left when you lost them. So, let's do it. Let's go for it. Sign up below on the link. I'll see you there. And again, feel free to share in the comments your experience on animal loss, on rehoming animals, or whatever you've, been through that's along those lines of grief around, your fur babies. So love to support you in that and answer any questions you may have. So thanks again for joining me, and I hope to see you on the class, and thank you for tuning in. We'll talk again later. Bye for now.